football pitch. I'll always remember my first football steps when I couldn't live without a football. But the best memories are the ones that include advices of my trainers. Yes, trainers. Now I'm asking myself, what about the trainers that train today's football stars? Do they remember them like I remember my trainers? Or they forgot about them? That's a question I always wondered myself. Have you ever wondered who trained successful sportsmen in their young age? Were they mentioned by the others or appraised? Only by the few, right? In this episode, we are going to talk about the brand new appraisal model of trainers in football or team sports that use the term solidarity contribution, training compensation, and the term homegrown player. So, let's go with that. So solidarity contribution is defined as the monetary compensation each time the professional football player is transferred during the course of his contract, which is contributed to his education and the training between his 12th and 23rd birthday. That contribution to those clubs is set to 5%. That means that the club gets a part of the contribution which is shown in this table. In this table we can see that this percentage is shared differently. There are 5% and 10% sharing. It all depends in which selection player had played for. We can also show this on an example of a player that transfers from Club A to Club B for 10 million. Also have in mind that he was a part of 4 other clubs till his 23rd birthday. That means that his first club gets 3 times 0.25%, second club gets 1 times 0.25% and 3 times 0.5%, third club gets 3 times 0.5% and fourth club gets 2 times 0.5%. We must have in mind that solidarity contribution can only be applied when a player is transferred outside of his association. That means if the player is transferred inside the association that he already plays in, other previous clubs will not be in a part of a contribution. For an example, with Mbappe, who was transferred from AS Monaco to PSG, previous clubs did not get any of the contribution. There is also a term called training compensation, which was created to stimulate clubs to invest in training and educating young players. The compensation is divided in 4 categories. First category is for the top level clubs. Second category is for the professional but on the lower level. Third, all other clubs in divisions of the National Association at the category 1. Fourth category is for all other clubs below the 4th division. But the training compensation is payable if those criteria are completed. First, professional contract signed by a player, and the international transfer until the end of the season of the player's 23rd birthday. The payment of a training compensation depends on whether a player signs a professional contract in a club from a different national association. Also, the new club is responsible for the payment of the training compensation to every previous training club of the player since his 12th birthday. Due to FIFA regulation, training costs and categorization of clubs for the year 2018 differ depending on the confederation that the club is part of. So the example of difference between CONMEBOL and UEFA, the UEFA training compensation is set to amount of 10,000 euros for category 4, 30,000 euros for category 3, 60,000 euros for category 2 and 90,000 euros for category 1. And the CONMEBOL compensation is set to $2,000 for category 4, $10,000 for category 3, $30,000 for category 2 and $50,000 for category 1. Also the amount of compensation for confederations as AFC, CONCACAF were in 2018 set between $2,000 for category 4 and $40,000 for category 2. And what about the homegrown players? Because of the Bosman case, UEFA defined the term homegrown player, which is stated that the club is obligated to have a number of players in their squads trained and grown in the national federation clubs. So how is the player considered to be the homegrown player? A club-trained player is a player who has been, irrespective of his nationality and age, registered with his club continuous or non-continuous for a period of 3 entire seasons. There is also an association-trained player that fulfills the criteria of a club-trained player with another club or club in the same association. But now if we return to the beginning, what about the football trainers? how can they benefit from the transfers? For this case, we can use this model called ASM that consists of the work for the trainers that trained those children between the ages that are considered to benefit club via first transfer or compensation term. So, the model's equation is divided into two parts. First part is based on the selections from the age of 12 to 15, or in the selections of under 8 to under 14 if the trainers are not part-time or full-time employed. And the second part that is based from the 15th birthday to 23rd birthday if the club has a reserve team, and under 15 till under 19 if the club doesn't have a reserve team. If we analyze the model in detail, we can see that it consists of Yav's attendance on the trainings during his year in different selection and the training held during the year. Those two terms are included because of the goal for the trainer to raise the attendance of Yav on his trainings. If we look at the second part of the model's equation, we can see that the model also includes the parameters of number of games that Yav player played beside the two parameters from the first part, but to count the game as played, the player must be a part of the match for at least 10 minutes. But how this model could work as a trainer's appraisal model? Let's make an example. A player at the age of 20 with his main position forward is transferred from his main club A to club B for 2 million euros, which was his first transfer, and the club is following an appraisal model and they set 10% of the total transfer to share among the trainers that train the player in Yav selections. The table below is showing his attendance on the trainings and the number of matches he played in the selections from under 15 and under 19. Also have in mind that there are two ponders that divided the first part and the second. So the ponder for the first part of the model is set to 30% of the share that is shared among the trainers from selections under 8 to under 14. Why 30%? It's because the club is not focused on the results factor in this part till the under 15 selection. And the next ponder is set to 70%. From this selection we must know that there are more trainers included inside the selections from conditional trainer, nutritionist, main trainer, etc. And the share is divided among all the staff. So now if we look at the equation, we can see that the first trainer gets the reward of 7,542 euros. Why is that so? Because as we can see from the table, the player had attendance of 0.88, and by the model we have to multiply this number with the 100% of the share that is meant as a reward. And now if we look at the second part of the equation, we can see that the whole staff inside could get 35,000 euros, but because of the model rule they get 32,550 euros. Also we can see that the equation has parameters of the match attendance. So in the next table we can see that the results of the share that trainers get as the reward from the model ASM. What about the share the player was not part of the club his whole career? We can put this in by this example. Player at the age of 25 is transferred from the club A to club B, and the club C gets 150,000 euros of a solidarity contribution because the player was in a part of the club C from his 12th to 15th birthday. Let's put aside the training compensation in this situation. So, in this case, 10% of solidarity contribution is shared among those trainers that train the player between these selections. Based on the proration, it means that trainers from under 12 to under 14 will share 4,500 euros. In that case, each trainer could get 1,500 euros as a bonus. The staff in under 15 could get, based on this model, 10,500 euros that is divided by the number of the staff included. Have in mind this is an appraisal model that was made to reward trainers for their work with the young players that made to a professional level. We all know that in most clubs around the world there is a problematic issue with the trainer payment methods in the youth selections. Maybe there is no trust between the clubs and trainers or how to measure their work. The second episode of Sportoscope will focus on sports organizations and academy programs. Till the next episode, we'll post some short clips as updates for the first episode. Thank you for watching, till the next time, and think outside the field.